You're standing in line. Your phone is at 1%, nothing to check, nothing to scroll. For 12 seconds, your mind has nothing to do, and something inside you starts to itch. You feel it in your chest, you feel it in your fingers. That itch has a name, you call it boredom. But the real answer is far stranger. Boredom isn't the absence of stimulation, it's an alarm, and it's one of the oldest alarms your brain owns. Think about that for a second. Hunger tells you your body is running out of fuel. Thirst tells you your body is running out of water. Pain tells you something is damaging your tissue. What does boredom tell you? In 2012, a psychologist named John Eastwood at York University proposed something unsettling. Boredom, he argued, is the feeling of wanting to be engaged with the world and failing to connect. Not the feeling of having nothing to do. The feeling of your attention finding nowhere to land. Your brain evolved to constantly scan for threats, food, mates, and information. When that scanning system finds nothing worth latching onto, it doesn't go quiet, it screams. And that scream is old. Older than smartphones. Older than television. Older than language itself. Picture an early human, maybe 200,000 years ago, sitting at the edge of a savanna. No predators nearby, no prey worth chasing, just stillness. You might imagine this as peaceful. It wasn't. Stillness was dangerous. A mind that stayed still for too long missed the rustle in the grass, missed the shift in the wind that meant rain was coming, missed the chance to scout a new water source before a rival group claimed it. Boredom, in that world, was not a flaw. It was a whip. It cracked, and you moved. You explored. You searched. Your ancestors who felt boredom most sharply were often the ones who survived, because they were the ones who never stopped looking for the next useful thing. So why does it feel so unbearable now? In 2014, a researcher named Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that became instantly famous and slightly infamous. He sat people alone in a room, no phone, no book, nothing to do but think, for up to 15 minutes. Before the session, participants were shown a device that delivered a mild electric shock, and most said they'd pay money to avoid ever feeling it again. Then Wilson gave them the option to shock themselves during the boring session if they wanted something, anything, to do. Nearly half chose to shock themselves. Some did it more than once. Men did it more than women. One participant shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. Let that sit with you. People chose pain over stillness. Why would a brain do that? Because stillness, to your ancient wiring, doesn't read as rest. It reads as risk. An idle mind, evolutionarily speaking, is a mind that isn't gathering resources, isn't watching for danger, isn't strengthening alliances. Your brain doesn't know the difference between scrolling and foraging. Both feel like productive movement. Both quiet the alarm. So when the alarm rings and there's nothing to forage, your brain will take almost anything else instead, even a shock, rather than sit in the silence of unmet searching. Here's the twist most people never expect. Boredom isn't just an old alarm, it's also a compass. A researcher named Erin Westgate, working alongside Wilson, proposed what she called the meaning and attention theory of boredom. Her idea was this. You get bored not simply when you're understimulated, but when what you're doing feels meaningless to you, even if it's difficult, even if it's demanding your full attention. You can be bored during a hard task and fully absorbed during an easy one. The difference is whether your mind believes the activity is worth its attention. Boredom, in this light, isn't your brain punishing you for doing nothing. It's your brain politely, and then not so politely, telling you that what you're doing doesn't matter to it. It is, in a strange way, one of the most honest emotions you have. And this changes everything about how you should treat it, because for decades, we treated boredom as something to eliminate. Radio in the car so silence never happens. Television as background noise. Now, a phone that fills every waiting room, every red light, every bathroom break with an infinite scroll. We build a civilization almost entirely around never letting that ancient alarm ring for more than a few seconds. But a psychologist named Sandy Mann found something researchers didn't expect. In a study where participants were given a boring task before a creative one, the bored group generated more original ideas afterward than the group that went straight into the creative task. Boredom, Mann found, doesn't just search for something to do. It searches inward when nothing outward is available. It builds. It daydreams. It connects ideas that were never asked to connect before. Think about where your best ideas actually come from. Rarely at your desk, staring at a task, usually in the shower, on a long walk, lying in bed before sleep when the day's noise finally fades. Those are the only moments many people still allow themselves to be bored. And it's exactly there, in that unfilled gap, that the mind starts doing something machines still can't replicate. It wanders without instruction. It makes unlikely connections. It plans. So the danger was never boredom itself. The danger is what happens when you never let it finish its job. Because when you kill boredom the instant it appears, every time, without exception, you also kill the search it was trying to run. You interrupt the scan before it finds anything. Your brain reaches for the phone, gets ahead of something, anything, and the alarm goes quiet. But it never got to ask the deeper question underneath the surface itch. What do I actually want right now? What am I missing? What haven't I thought about in a while? A mind trained to never sit with that question stops knowing how to answer it, and that's the real cost, not wasted minutes, a weakening of the very system that used to point you toward what mattered. There's a reason people describe modern life as busy but empty, full but strangely hollow. You can fill every second of a day and still feel, at the end of it, that itch, that old alarm unanswered because it was drowned out 100 times before it ever got to speak. Your ancestors didn't have that option. When boredom hit on the savannah at the edge of a quiet camp, they had to sit inside it, at least for a while, until it pushed them toward the next fire to build, the next tool to sharpen, the next horizon to walk toward. That discomfort was doing something. It was navigation. And somewhere in the last few decades, we traded that navigation system for an infinite supply of quick, easy answers to a question we stopped letting ourselves ask. So the next time you're standing in that line, phone dead, nothing to check, and that itch starts to rise in your chest, try something almost nobody does anymore. Don't reach for anything, just wait. Let the alarm ring a little longer than usual. Somewhere underneath it, your ancient compass is still working, still scanning, still trying to point you toward whatever it is you've been too busy to notice you're missing. You're standing in line, your phone is at 1%, and for the first time in a long time, you let the silence stay. Because the real answer was never. That boredom is empty. It's that boredom is the last honest voice you have left, and it's been trying to tell you something the whole time.